I'm Prajna, and I am most passionate about retreats. And as most of you know who listen to my videos or receive my newsletter, know that I just came back from facilitating 4 weeks of retreat in Europe. So I want to speak to you about that. And I want to speak to you about how magic you are. When I have the wonderful opportunity to facilitate these retreats, more than anything else, I get to see how much we share in our human composition and how much there is to being a human, and how easily sometimes we can lose sight of our humanity, where we can get into a busy schedule or be impacted by so much of what has been happening in the world for many years that creates division and opposition and separation. And with that, a very true, real feeling of isolation or loneliness. And beneath that is this deep, deep yearning to connect. And when I read the applications for people coming onto retreat, this is what I hear and feel and read more often than anything else, is the desire to connect and to be authentic. So the magic of you is that as a human, you have so much going on in our sensations, our intellect, feelings, energies, movements, and all that we absorb in the different environments that we're exposed to all throughout our life. So on retreat is a opportunity to come into a safe space, not automatically, but we create a safe space where you can set aside all the different ways that we're distracted. So there isn't any internet, for instance, and there isn't the day-to-day attending maybe to children or work. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but with all of that set aside, we can give full attention to the vastness of all the different aspects of who we are and what our capacities are when we take time to investigate, to inquire and to listen and to feel who we are. Who are we? What are all the different dimensions? And there's magic in this. There's great magic in it. And not only is it magic in the sense of uh, an isolated experience, but it isn't at all, because each person is invited to come into the center at a different point for Olympia. And what that Limpia is an opportunity to express and be witnessed, and something that you're very ready to be free of, to let go of, and as well as what it is you're inviting into your life. Now, this takes courage to kind of stand in front of a group of people and be witnessed in a space of vulnerability, and to trust that you're going to be cared for. And when I read the reviews, I have a bunch of them here with me right now. And one that I hear often is, I ask this question on the review, like, what is the highlight of retreat for you? And it's the Olympias. Like, that's almost always the response, is the Limpia, in my personal Olympia. And this person says, I found it terrifying, profound, and very moving. It is such a privilege to stand or sit and to witness, to be a witness to all the beauty, the full spectrum of pain, suffering, and healing of within our humanity. So that's one, and they all sound very similar to this. Another person said, the Olympias. I'm always blown away by how much is shared by a room full of people, how human we all are. I find a new context and a new way to connect to being human. And I feel a deeper compassion for my fellow humans. And this is what happens when we really get to share our vulnerability and come together and witness the aspects of life that are difficult, as well as the parts that want to be celebrated and shared. So when I came back home from retreat, and I said this in our post retreat discussion on many of the retreats, is that often retreat begins when you leave and you come back home because we have this time to be in a spacious, safe, healing, meditative environment to reflect, to journal, to really listen and take time to process and to heal, and to have so much magic unfold for each and every one of us. And that's kind of, it's unusual to be in a space like that. So many insights can happen, many things are learned and healed, and an awareness can come about a certain part of life that maybe you want to take some action to change it. You know, what is the next step? What is the next best thing? What is the right thing? What is the kindest thing that I can do in my life to continue to evolve and heal and progress? So when I came home, well, I was 4 weeks on retreat, excuse me, and I had many things that occurred to me. And when I came back, I felt very inspired and very alive and ready to share different things. And I wanted to create some videos right away because I felt enlivened and refreshed. And I returned back home, and there were a lot of changes that had shifted while I was away, and I had things to attend to that I wasn't planning on. And it immediately took my attention and my energy. And what I found after a little bit is that I got a headache. And very rarely in my life do I get headaches. And so what I noticed is that, well, how do I put this in a very succinct way? Is that I was very open and very sensitive. So I was kind of absorbing some of the energy in the field around me, you know, all the way from leaving the retreats to coming back to my house. And I started to really go into a headspace of thinking about how to solve a particular problem. And I was forgetting momentarily about, you know, how I'm much more than a thinking apparatus, and that I have feeling and gut instinct and intuition and instincts and knowing that can also inform us on the next best thing to do. So once I noticed that, what it took was for me to take some time out in nature. And when I went out into nature and I got into my feet and into my body again, I felt the magic of retreat returning, informing how we're so much more than thinking, you know, than what the mind can come up with. You know, like the mind is a very wonderful tool. And I started to also discern the difference again between investigating something, inquiring about it, doing research, and really thinking something through in a practical or rational way, because that's important. Gathering information and data, you know, to make a sound decision about something. The difference between that and when we can fall into an obsessive loop or old pattern of thinking that usually happens. It's like you go down a little rabbit hole. I've heard this expression, but I'm not sure that I experience it so much. But where an idea, almost like getting stuck in one idea, one loop, and then you fall into that, and maybe other energies come with it, but it's often feels a little bit hopeless, like maybe maybe there isn't a solution at hand. And I noticed that, and I was able to come on out of it and remember that thought is a wonderful tool. Mind is a wonderful tool, but it isn't our only tool to be used. Another part of coming to make a good decision and staying in the field of the magic that happens in retreat is to let yourself be witnessed. And how do we let ourselves be witnessed? Just remember that, there's always somebody that has the capacity to listen. We can do our own deep listening, but sometimes it's really nice to come to another person and let yourself be witnessed. Sometimes that can happen in a family or in a friendship or a relationship. Sometimes it can even happen in a post on social media where you feel you have people who read your posts that are actually very supportive. And you're kind of just expressing something from whatever it is that's happening for you. And just being heard that way can be helpful as well. So we don't ever have to remain in a place of staying just with our own thoughts, like to let them air out and to remember the magic that's in our bodies, to trust our feelings, to trust our instincts, our gut, and we don't have to come to a conclusion about anything quickly. We can take time to reflect and examine and kind of listen to things from all different points of views. And if we had an experience in the past, say in this situation that I'm speaking about is care for my children, things may have gone a particular way in the past, but it doesn't mean that it will always go that way. That systems and people that work within systems are always changing. And you never know who you're going to meet and how open they might be to trying to do something different. A willingness to be creative, a willingness to explore together with you, to feel like you're on the same team and that ideas can be generated. And we're in shifting times. And so the structures that used to inform us are really kind of not, it's becoming more apparent how dysfunctional and how non serviceable they may be to the majority of the population. So, once again, I just wanted to remind you of your magic and remind you that taking time to go slow is a really wonderful medicine. It's like, in being born, it's like you are a medicine bundle. Like that's your birthright. Like you have medicine in you that makes up all of who you are. This field of magic that is informed through life experience, but isn't defined by it. Like you're a constantly changing, ever evolving being that has many dimensions, many facets. So to be curious about you forever and to not have a conclusion and to let yourself stay in this magical wonder of mystery, of curiosity, and feel the gorgeous joy within that. Yeah. So I'm in a process of constant change. Yeah, lots is shifting here. And I'm always happy to hear from you. I've received a lot of messages lately. So maybe making this video will answer some of those questions. So stay in touch. And if you enjoy my channel, please subscribe. And you can sign up for my newsletter at prajnaohara.com and look at my website. Things are always changing. And I usually do retreats in Europe at least once a year and retreats around the United States. And that is my passion. It is my most favorite thing to do. I'm also a disability advocate and a writer. So thank you.